Gotta find me an angel.
You're listening to the Life After Loss podcast. This show is a safe place for angel moms and angel dads who have lost a child. It's a safe place to share, cry, celebrate, and connect to a community of parents who have experienced grief and gotten through it. Here's your host, Darcea Handy.
Angel moms and dads, I'm so excited to be before you all today because guess what? We have taken our podcast to the very next level. Here at Shaletta Makes Me Laugh, we decided, we love doing our audio podcasts, but we want to reach out so you guys can see us and get to know us and put a face with the voice. So I'm really excited about this change that's coming up. Okay. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about today, we know that Mother's Day is coming up. And I know that Mother's Day can be very hard for some parents, especially those of us who are angel moms and dads. But one thing I always like to do is put some encouragement into every episode. And, there's hope in healing. And we can heal. We can heal from these losses of pregnancy and infant loss. Well, as you know, for those of you who listen, to the podcast, quite often I speak about my daughter. You guys know that I have a son. Well, my daughter's my first child, and I have a son, Aiden Christopher, who is in heaven. He's my angel son. And when I lost him shortly after birth, I nearly lost my mind. But you guys know that I've told you about how I've gone from wanting to end my life from suicide to success. One of the things that I've shared with you all is the power that was in this really little tiny person at the time who happens to be Aiden's older sister. And her name is Naya. Naya is 17 years old right now. And I just thought for this Mother's Day, I wanted to do something very special and introduce her to each one of you because I talk about her so often. Those little eyes, those little brown eyes she had at the time, they just looked at me and stared at me. And she was like, I need you. And I was like, you know what? I need you too. And we have a bond. So I present to you Naya Quay.
Hello.
Hey, Naya.
Hi, Mom.
Not mommy, just mom. Okay.
Yes, hi, Mom.
You guys, it stopped being mommy a long time ago. So I was reaching, that was a far reach. Well, Naya, thank you for being on the show today. I'm so excited to have you here. I do talk about you quite often. And I talk about the role you played in my healing, and part of my healing when I lost your brother. So I wanted to ask you today if you have a fun Mother's Day memory that you'd like to share with us. And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Hi. So I'm Naya Quay. I am a junior in high school, and I guess a very fond Mother's Day memory I have is like I was 10 years old, and I remember this painting is still hanging up on the wall. I painted like a bullseye thing, and I did each layer for like a year. You had been a mom, and I was like, I'm 10 years old and you've been a mom for 10 years. And I remember painting that and like making that like extremely significant. And it's funny because it's still on the wall, and I look at it and I'm like, wow, that was like, I did not have any artistic ability, but it's still on the wall and you really appreciated it. I think you may have cried. I don't really remember, but it's a kind of funny memory to me because I was so serious about it and you were too, and it stayed on for 7 years now. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, wow, that wasn't the best, but also I'm like, wow, I can't really top that. But yes, that was great. And that's kind of what I do. I like to make things very significant and important, and I'll write things that are just super sappy and emotional. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'll just pour my heart out into what I do and what I give to people, especially my mom, because it's a good way to show like how you care and that you do care. So that's something that I always try to do. And that's one thing I did that Mother's Day and have tried to continue as the years have gone on.
And I certainly do appreciate that. And you're right, it is still on the wall, as well as a lot of your artwork, because it means so much to me as a mom. But one Mother's Day, it was very close to Mother's Day, and I was traveling out of town for business, and something happened at your school, and you were staying with grandmommy, you were with grandmommy, and your school went into lockdown. I think, was it second or third grade?
It
Second
was
or
third
third?
grade. It
Okay,
was
third
third grade,
grade.
yeah.
And I was in Boston on a business meeting, and your school went into lockdown. Now, when mother called me about your school going into lockdown, she said, "Oh, Naya, something happened at her school, but she was okay. She was fine." But when I spoke with you, you were not okay. You were not fine. You were crying, and you said some things to me. Do you remember what you said? And I'm gonna, if you remember what you shared with me when I spoke with you, can you share that right now? Because it really meant a lot. And I'm going to share what I want to say if you remember. Do you remember what you said when I called you?
I don't remember all of it, but if I remember thinking something, and I don't remember if I did share that, but I will say it, and if it's the same, then that's even better. So I remember that situation, and I remember I had one of your business cards in my backpack, and I like held on to it, and I was like closing my eyes, and I was like praying, and I was like, I just hope I can see my mommy at the time again. And I remember just thinking about that and praying for that to happen, because it was just a very terrifying situation, and it was a very hard situation, and I was like, and I was thinking of like good memories we had together and stuff, because it was just so terrifying. Now I don't remember if I did say that, but that was something that was definitely in my mind at the time.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Because, I used to slip pictures of me or pictures of us or in little cards in your bags. Because one thing, and I'll share with you, parents, when you've experienced a loss, when you have had to bury an infant and pick out a casket and all those things, not only do you at times fall into depression, but you also at times, if you have other children, you become very protective, like super, super, super protective. And that's how I was with Naya. I was like super, super protective. I didn't want her out of my sight. When she went to daycare, I chose daycare centers that actually had cameras in the classrooms. Yes, because I had to watch her. And when she started elementary school, I made sure I was on PTA. I was the room mom, and I was there. I even changed my schedule as a nurse. We have those different shifts, 6 to 3, 3 to 11, those in between. I changed my shift, and I actually changed my job because I just felt that she needed me. Now, we needed each other. Yes, she needed her mommy, but for me, I needed to make sure that she was protected and she was safe. And it wasn't even until I think Easter of last year that she actually spent a holiday away from me. And she's traveled, out of the country without me. But for a long time, I had to allow myself to heal from my son's loss and stop saying, okay, she can't go there. I need to know where she is at all the time. Where is she? Who's she with? She'll even tell you when she got cell phones. I'm like, take a picture so I can see your location. But I had to heal from that, because that's something that when we lose a child, when we experience pregnancy and infant loss, it's something that we don't talk about. It's something that we suffer in silence, because people will say, oh, you're a helicopter mom. Oh, why is she so involved? Or you're spoiling her. But what they don't realize is when you put a child in the ground, it's hard. You do anything to save that child, the child that you have. And that's what I talk about when I say how Naya helped me continue to live, because, her little face. I had a picture I wanted to show. My favorite right here. And actually, this one is my favorite. And the reason why, I'm sorry if it's a little blurry, the reason why this picture is my favorite is because it just illustrates exactly what I'm saying. You needed me and I needed you. I could not let you down. I had to be there for you. And I'm so grateful that I was. So grateful that I was. Now, to get back on what happened when I went out of town and you were at school. When I returned from my business trip and I found out what happened, Naya told me, of course, when we were on the phone, she did cry and, she was telling me how she felt. And you did tell me that you went under the desk because you guys had to get under the desk and hide. And you did tell me that you were praying and you were looking at my picture on my business card. Actually, my business card at the time had my picture on it. So you did tell me that. Now, shortly after that, I returned to our home and I was on another show, featured as a single parent working on another show. And the host asked, what was the hardest part about it? And I said, leaving my daughter at home, knowing she needs me. And I said, it's very important that I'm there because my daughter needs me, not things. So now I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit with us about that.
Yes, that's definitely a very correct statement. That it's always kind of been that way where I relied on you a lot. And, that mutual need is very true and it's definitely there. And, for years, I mean, I say this, you were the closest person to me, and you still are. There are things I can talk to you about that I might not be able to talk about with others, or I've just relied on you so much. And yes, like there would be times where like the helicoptering would be a lot, but as I've grown older, I realize, how important it is to stay safe and to be aware of everything. And I can empathize and sympathize with why there are times where you're like, okay, please, you need to send me a picture, or I need to know what's happening. And you have, like loosened up a bit, like loosened the reins a bit, which has been really great too. But I can understand that concern and where it comes from. And it's good because it prevents a lot of conflict between us. We don't bump heads where I'm like, oh, you never let me do anything. You let me do a lot, actually. And I still have a social life. I still have a life outside of my parents and everything at home, which is amazing and it's needed. But it's good that I can have that without feeling like anxious or nervous, that you're going to be anxious or nervous or scared. And then I can feel, I can be aware of what's going on. And I'm like, okay, I know I've been taught how to think resourcefully and think on my feet a little bit as well. And just we have that bond where like we can, talk about things. And if something does happen, like I know I can come to you, or if I'm like, oh, I had this little moment, but I thought back to what you told me about this. And it's been great, and it's just been amazing to just have that there. And it really does feel nice because especially at this age, it can feel hard to connect with your parents because it feels like you're on two different levels. There's like, oh, I'm like trying to grow up and do this, and then you will still pull out those pictures and be like, look here, do you remember what it was like at this point? And I'm like, no, I don't remember, I was one. But that little, I mean, I feel like you've allowed me to grow up, and you haven't been super like on top of me to the point where I can't grow up, but you also take time to care and to listen and to be there for me when I need you. And that happens a lot because I do have those times where I'm struggling and I don't really know who to go to or what to talk about. But I do know I can come to you because you're going to do what's best, or you'll give me the best advice possible. And I just really appreciate that, and I feel grateful that you were my mom. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and God makes everything happen for a reason. And I feel like there's a reason why you were chosen to be my mom and I was chosen to be your child. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm about to cry. And with that, family, With that, that's so important. Look at what I would have missed. Look at everything I would have given up had I given up. Look at when those thoughts came after I lost my son. Look at everything that I would have lost. Look at the child that the world has gained, a young lady that the world has gained. I'm so happy that I stuck with it. I'm so happy that we stayed together. We needed each other. We were there for one another. And I had to learn to not put all of my anxiety and negative feelings on her as well. So sometimes it happens, family, and our children can feel it. They feel it when we're going through it. So, some of the anxiety or the sadness or depression, they feel it too. And looking at her and her little face, and as she was growing, I was like, I want her to be happy. Yes, this hurt me, but I want her to be happy. And you know what? One day we're going to do something big together, and we're just going to shake the world. And I feel it, and we're doing it right now. Look at this, our very first podcast together on Mother's Day weekend. I couldn't ask for anything more. So angel moms and dads, I want to encourage you. Please take care of yourselves. And please be there for one another. Okay. And if you're feeling that you're so sad now, of course, if you're a newly bereaved mother, you're probably going to feel something on Mother's Day. You may not feel like getting up, or you're not going to want to do anything, and that's fine. But if your sadness is prolonged and you feel like you want to end it, or you just don't know what to do, please reach out. Don't suffer in silence. We have a wealth of information for you. You can reach out to me at Super Angel Mom on Twitter. You can reach out to me at Darcea Handy. And on Facebook, you can reach out to me at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com, the Life After Loss page. And I also have LifeAfterLossMinistries.com. And we have our Life After Loss podcast page on Facebook as well. You don't have to suffer alone. You're not alone. Now, having said that, I will go ahead and give Naya a moment to just wrap up before I say goodbye. So now, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I would just like to say Happy Mother's Day. I love you. You're the best mom ever. And no, she didn't tell me to say that. This came from myself. But yes, you are the best. And I love you so much. And I appreciate you for having me on here. I know that this is a very important outlet for you. And I appreciate being a part of that. So thank you so much. I love you.
And I love you too. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. So, angel moms and dads, as we bring our show to a close, I hope that you basically the show today, I just want you to know that you have value. You are important. You are worth living. You may be in a down place after you experience pregnancy and infant loss, but just think about the whole world that's out there, what you have to give to them. If you have other children, definitely focus on being there for them. But if you don't, you can still focus on what can I do in this world to make a difference. Or you can do like I did. Turn your misery into a ministry and go to the hospital, or go and go to Walmart and pay for someone else's child's birthday cake and just say, I'm just doing this in honor of my child. Something like that. But you are important. And there are people who love you, and please rely on them. So with that, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day to the grandmoms, and happy Mother's Day to my super special angel moms. We share a bond that no one else outside of this angel mom circle share, and we have to be here for one another. Family, thank you so much for joining me on our Life After Loss podcast. Until next time.
You've been listening to Life After Loss with your host, Darcea Handy. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast for new episodes every Wednesday. For more on this program, log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.